Hey guys, welcome back to another review. It's been a while, but you're in for something special today because I'll be telling you about one of the most underrated fragrances and fragrance brands that I've come across. And the brand is Essential Parfums, and the fragrance I'm talking about is Bois Imperial and this one is created by perfumer Quentin Biche or Quentin Biche in the French pronunciation. So, you might know that Quentin Biche is one of my favorite perfumers. He's done a lot, but the ones that stand out for me are things like Delina, Le Marle Parfum, and then Ganymede, of course. And interestingly, this one, people have said smells very, very similar to Ganymede, and I found that out after I sort of already became interested in the brand and the fragrance. Initially, I was interested in some other ones, one by Antoine Maisondieu, the Rose one, Rose Magnétique. And then there's also one by Nathalie Grasicetto, something like that, like an orange sandalwood fragrance. I tried the rose one. It didn't blow me away. Some people were comparing to Delina, but for me, it really didn't meet that expectation. This one, on the other hand, really surprised me. This one, so I guess I'll start with the most important thing is if you've ever come across the fragrance Ganymede, I've reviewed it before, so you can take a look at that. But it is still, to this day, I think, one of the more hyped scents, especially for people who like niche perfumes. I do think it's a little bit overhyped because of the price. Because if you get the 100 ml, sure, that's not a bad deal. It's about $200. But then when you get the smaller size, the 30 ml, it's I can't remember, but it ends up being a lot more expensive and not worth it at that price, in my opinion. And it's not one that I would get a huge bottle of because it's not the most wearable scent in that it's very unique. I don't think there's anything that's pungent or really off-putting about the scent, but it's so different that most people who casually like fragrances might not be into that sort of thing. So this one is very, very similar. Actually, when I no longer own Ganymede. I wasn't wearing it all that much, but when I sprayed this for the first time, compared to how I remembered Ganymede, this was 90% similar. That said, I think that this is almost more wearable, and it has been, in practice for me. It's hard to kind of pinpoint the reasons why because I don't have Ganymede on me, so I can't do a head-to-head comparison. But I think it's not that this is any weaker. In fact, this is, I think actually one of the strongest scents I have. It sits in a closed cabinet, and every time I open the cabinet, it just floods the area with the smell of this, which is how strong this is. And when I received the package for the first time, I could smell it, from the package. So, I think the reason might be that there are synthetics here that are pretty potent. Again, good smells, but it's not a weak fragrance by any means. There's just something about Ganymede that feels a little bit denser, not as bright or sparkling. Even though that it is, I think this one is more so. Probably because of the more peppery nuances that are in this one. So finally, let's get into the scent. So we've kind of mentioned Quentin Biche, the perfumer, and actually he seems to be very popular, in this generation, creating very unique scents. And this fragrance, we'll talk about the brand as well, but this fragrance, he was essentially given the freedom to do, whatever he wanted with. It sounds like not many restrictions in terms of budget, although the whole line is actually a pretty budget-friendly brand. So he based this scent, he wanted to create a woody scent. So this is a woody I would say mainly a woody fragrance, signature fragrance that is wearable all seasons, and it's primarily based on the note of AKIGALAWOOD, which is actually, I mean, it sounds so exotic. I don't know where that name came from. It's actually a chemical derived from patchouli essential oil that the company Givaudan creates. And it has a very unique smell. I would not have known it if not for fragrances like this, although there are other fragrances that use this note. But it is said to have, of course, the woody aspect, the kind of warmth, a richness, and as well as a spiciness. And I get all of those. Now, let me give you sort of my interpretation of the smell. It's very interesting that it smells so similar to Ganymede. When Ganymede, the star note to me, it was the immortelle, a kind of flower. So with the AKIGALAWOOD, the thing that stands out is it has the same tangy metallic quality, and of course that's not actually just from the wood note itself. There's a strong, very important pepper note in here that sort of makes the whole fragrance glisten, and it just works with the wood notes so that the warmth, it's sort of like, it's not a thick fragrance, but there's this contrast between an almost smoky, smoldering kind of spicy, woody aspect, and then this grapefruit-like tanginess coming from this pepper, as well as actually Thai basil that's used in here. So you get this fresh kind of herbal quality along with a mysterious woody note. And so I would say, to me, this is why the scent is so interesting. There's this beautiful contrast with between the earthiness and the airiness of the overall scent. This is one that, like I said, is wearable all seasons because it tends to project. It has a sparkling, fruity quality, almost sour actually. So again, it has this kind of, it doesn't have any sort of sweetness, like a vanilla kind of sweetness. And so it ends up being a very interesting green feeling at times, peppery scent. That's ultimately, it's sort of like, it has that fruitiness of citrus fruits, but then also you incorporate a slight bitterness as if you're smelling the zest of the peel itself. So it has a more, again, woody, leafy, stemmy kind of smell to it. So anyway, guys, I'm sure that, for some people, this description, the way I describe it, is not going to really convey the smell. It's a really tough one to capture, but just to kind of summarize, there are, I would say, well, let's start with the overall kind of fragrance, which is again, a woody, wearable signature scent. And I would say there are a couple key kind of components to this smell. This tangy, bit sour fruitiness, a slightly warm, almost a sandalwood-like, coziness around it, and then this spicy and earthy element. And again, the earthiness partly coming from this basil note, right? So again, not so sweet of a fragrance, more peppery and more herbal and more woody. So yeah, very good scent. It's actually become close to my signature scent these days because it's so easy to wear. So I absolutely recommend it. And I just realized we didn't even talk about the key point, which is that this 100 ml costs $78. The entire range is priced the same. So, everything from the brand, $78, I believe. And I think that is just phenomenal. Who cares if maybe it is a little more synthetic smelling than Ganymede? Nobody will be able to tell. I mean, I'm very upfront and honest when it comes to, people saying, like, comparing a cheaper fragrance to a niche scent. And I do tend to lean toward the niche scents and distinguish the differences and really appreciate, what good quality is. And in this case, the scent is so unique and also so similar overall to Ganymede that, you know, if you're interested at all in Ganymede, just pick this one up and I think it will serve you just the same. So anyway, that was my review of this. Let me know if you have experience with the brand. I think it's a great one. I've got a couple more reviews coming up, and more importantly, you know, I'll give you my spring list for this year very soon. All right, see you guys soon.